chair there, if you want. Good afternoon and welcome to this Masters Hockey World Cup match in the over 60 division for ladies. We've got South Africa playing against the USA, and I've been fortunate enough again to be joined by the marvellous Simon Mason to help in the commentary. Simon, how are we doing?
Very good, thank you. That's a delightful letter. I think marvellous isn't an adjective that I'd used at any point, so I'll go with that for another beautiful Cape Town afternoon. Thank you. Yeah, two sides obviously coming to this, not off the strongest set of results that either have had, but they'll be looking, just vying for position for those playoffs later on this weekend.
Yeah, I think we're deep in the tournament now, and you'll see some tired legs out there, but accumulating points is the important part, because the pool games, you need to get as many points as you can. Goal difference comes into it, obviously. But like you said, not the best results for either team, but they still want to get points out of every game they can.
Well, it's always when you go into this, you do a little bit of research and look at the results that they've had. And against the two stronger teams, both sides, obviously this is their last game, so they've played the same teams. Both of them lost to the England 7-0, and both of them lost to the Netherlands 3-0. So ignoring the Spirit of Masters results, which were a little bit different, you're pretty much tied up in terms of on-paper stats. But as you said, this now, to me, it's about fatigue, it's about legs, it's about the depth of squad and what they can bring.
Yeah, we've already seen a couple of the players on the South African side aren't playing because of some injury, I believe. But there's only one goal between them in this tournament, same points. So level pegging, the winner of this game will move up to third place and bragging rights when it comes to the pool playoff. So both will be vying for a result here. So vicious hook there.
Well, that's an early hit for Karen Croteau. Has taken that right on the inside of her calf.
There's the ball got taken to the circle, but just been whacked away there. I see Strover, the captain, taking control of the situation.
Well, that's over. Imran Butt, one of our umpires, ends. Imran Butt from Singapore is joined by Jan Dekker of the Netherlands. Dekker probably just about in your shot now with the little peaked cap.
Yeah, the US looking for a direct circle into there, but as any defender would do, planting themselves on route one, making sure that nothing comes through.
Well, it's all about now, as the legs tire, it's that ability. It's not the long distance running, because once you kind of get yourself going, it's all right. It's that immediate, can I bounce off the balls on my feet? Can I go from left foot to right foot? What have I got left?
Simon, we saw in the last game, a couple of hatch balls got thrown, and the ball on a turf. A turf's got a bit of camber on it, so the water can run off. So the ball just trickling away, and there were a couple thrown that you could see the chaser was thinking, why on earth am I chasing this on day 6 of a tournament? These legs are killing me.
We've talked about it a couple of times, it does contribute yourself, and also with Murray as well, and you get that situation where it's what I've commonly termed 3 or 4 times as the hamstring breaker. It's the one that just gets floated forwards, and suddenly you're like, my brain says I should really chase this, but if I start to try and stretch my legs, I'm in a whole world of trouble. We're going to have a floodlight sniper picking me off.
No, it's definitely the case. Quick scanner on the field, and you'll see not too many sprightly movements off the ball in the beginning part of this game. I think people need to wear their legs in a bit.
Well, the challenge also, particularly there for the USA, is they're really being put under pressure with a high South African ring press, and the overhead that's attempted by Finnegan, the captain, Michelle Finnegan, trying to throw it up and over, but it's been taken down brilliantly twice by De Bruyn.
South Africa happy just to keep the ball moving around the outside. Ball play is so important in the switch, and they've got a chance here.
That's well seen off a South African foot. Clever as Linda Polonsky just picks that out and looks for the longer ball. But it feels at times, even in these early exchanges, it's just fractionally direct. The hit passes in and out and around the circle are a little bit route one. Potentially looking for... I worked with Nathan, Ansel, one of our colour commentators yesterday, yes. And he was all about the power angles. He was all about creating the triangles. And I'm not convinced there's many players on either of these sides who've been coached about power angles, but we'll see. It might be slightly different terminology.
It's amazing how the terminology changes over the years, and new terms come in. I'm sure A lot of the old schoolers in the field here are talking about basics more than anything else.
To be fair, I had to ask him what power angles meant, and I'm slightly younger than the players out in the field today. Not by much, slightly younger. Principles are still the same, though, just little angle triangles. I mean, that's been in the coaching manual since the year dot in terms of, from an invasive sport as this is, an invasive team game, you then try and work out how we create little sets of passes. Same principles, just different words.
Yeah, Nathan being a young and upcoming player, and he's been through a couple of the new age coaches, I call them. Everybody trying to make a mark on themselves. This game a bit stuck in the midfield, yeah? Nobody making a clear break yet. A lot of the midfield passes just been jammed up against sticks. Nobody keeping the ball away. You don't want to take the ball in trouble here because a couple of free swinging six. And as I say that, I'm looking up, and a lot of the players on the field are double gloved, and it's an amazing. I haven't seen this many in a while. I just picked it up as I looked. I've counted at least 8 double gloves on the field, which is going to be a tough fight. This
unusual when it looks more like a boxing match than anything else. Yeah, in one game at the World Cup, we've seemed to have exhausted the entire supply of indoor protective gloves from the stadium shop.
That is amazing. I just accidentally picked it up as we went here. Often seen in indoor circles when players are right down low on the ground for a long period of time. But anyway, protecting the fingers. A lot of free sticks swinging around. You don't want to end your tournament early by catching a stick on the finger and wearing one.
Well, going back to working with Nathan, though, yesterday, and what he and I spoke about was some terminology that's changed. Obviously, as you said, different language sets and bits and pieces. But the other side of that is also that I reflected back on some. We had a new coach back in 1998, a guy called Barry Dancer from Australia, who came across, and he suggested to everybody that you have to understand where your games come from. If you don't understand the history of the game, you don't understand the coaching facets that have come before you, you then become quite one-dimensional. It's just about the here and now, and actually understanding different structures, understanding different words is vital. And so what he comes up with now is going, well, that just means this, albeit it was when hockey was played in black and white.
Barry being a school teacher, love the man, fantastic coach, one of the best runs in world hockey with Australia. And when he got given the job, the world hockey was a bit concerned, didn't know much about him as a coach. And he took a team from Olympics to World Cups to Aslan Shahs to everything under the sun. But a very simple coach, breaking things down to what matters, and I love that. I think it's one of the greatest examples of a coach that you can have.
I, however, definitely attribute all of his success to working with a very average group of British players that I was in the middle of. So we should have some of those medals, to be fair. I think they're partially all about how poor we were at times. I'll never forget, there was one game, as we watched it, I don't want to tell stories, but as we do this, he tried to get us to play, as the Aussies do, with a pair of fullbacks. And in Britain, it was always about a back three and a sweeper. Tried to get us a pair of fullbacks. In the World Cup in 98, we then played against Pakistan, and we went to a pair of fullbacks to start that. We were 5-0 down after 17 minutes. Literally, Johnny White, our skipper, got us into the team huddle after the fifth and went, right, let's push that to one side for now. We're going to go back to what we were, 3-1, 5-all after 35 minutes. Absolutely brilliant. Still lost 7-5.
Oh no. It is looking at Masters hockey, especially now, where players have been playing a certain way for a long period in their life, and there are some countries like South Africa that have played 3-3 hockey forever. The same principle. The three at the back had a sweeper behind, and then at some point somebody got brave and moved the sweeper one level forward and thought that was a really clever move. But South African players are just born to play 3-3. It's the way you play at school, it's the way you play for a majority of your junior life. And so you look at the Masters hockey and people just migrate into that pattern straight away when they're playing. And you look at the English teams and I see a lot of the 4-2 system, 4-4-2, and it's just the way they've been coached and the way they play, and they've just kept it going from there. So you just see those kind of traits coming through. It's a pity we don't have an Aussie team here, because I'd love to see how they play as they get older.
I don't know, but whatever it is, I absolutely always talk about the fact that they are the most Route 1 side, A to B, whatever's in the way, offensively or defensively. Where is the first option? Get it and go for goal. So direct, so instinctively offensively minded.
Yeah,
but you then turn that around, you then go to an India and a Pakistan who are properly deep-seated in 2-3-5. That W up front, you can envisage it, and they always still talk about left wing and right wing, whereas a lot of it now, I talk from the GB perspective, I talk about 4-6, and this full integrated rotation across every line.
Yeah, I think when you talk about those full rotations, if you look at the Dutch ladies playing in the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years, it just brought a whole dimension to being able to be flexible, moving players around at will, knowing who's filling whose position, and just understanding that the game needs people in certain positions. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't have to be the designated left wing, as you say, as long as somebody gets there. But one of my favorite memories of chatting to the Aussies a while back about pattern play and that, and you get the Aussies that are deep thinkers, and every now and then you say to them, well, what is your pattern at the moment? They just say their favorite pattern is run, Aussie, run.
Well, and actually looking at this in terms of the counter-attack as it comes straight down the middle, it'll be interesting to see if the teams have the legs to spread out from that, the run, Aussie, run, literally turnover. They've played down quite a narrow strip for the last probably 60, 90 seconds up and down the middle of the turf, and whether they can find the sidelines consistently as they do there with Debbie LaRue just looking to try and get that link up down the right-hand side. Wiggle had led away down that right-hand side, just trying to create a little bit more width.
Yeah, I've been interested in the presses that teams have put up here. The teams that work coordinated together, as you'll see it from the US, keeping their players in close proximity and stopping the through balls going is the key to a lot of these games. I mean, if you can just get the ball early off, make sure it doesn't get in behind you. As we see now, they do get in behind. Looking for the ball on the line.
Oh, just looking to break the line. I mean, it's a really good classic interchange down that left-hand side as South Africa drive their way in, draw the last defender, eliminate the second last, draw the last, pop it behind into that space. Classic round-the-back attacks.
Watching the US, you can see, look how well they just stayed as a group. They've got a good structure that is kept with the ball the whole time, rotated and just make sure that there's somebody pressing the ball and a couple of players behind. But yeah, the ball does get through. Like we said, it's going to hit a foot, I think. I don't think the umpire saw that. A little help from the... Here we go. The disengaged umpire did help out there with the hands. And the disengaged umpire was a long way down the field there.
I think Jan Dekker was just holding his whistle a little bit, as all good umpires will try and do. Just, is there an outcome? I don't want to blow it too early. It was in that really negative position outside the attacker's left foot. Absolutely nowhere to go, and therefore bringing it back inside, they're looking to just draw a foot, win the foul.
Yeah, so we got first PC of the match.
The States goalkeeper, Pam Sherry. Not the tallest of goalkeepers that we've seen across this competition. Will they go to the air? Hit ball out, it's got a little bit of a skip on it.
Trap, hits and a blast. That is a really good hit by Brenda Piper. Cracking the ball on the deck, very close to the keeper, but with such power, the keeper didn't have time to move that foot.
Yeah, as we highlighted that the keeper, Pam Sherry, not the tallest goalkeeper, not going to have a massive stretch, and it was a really clean strike. The injection wasn't particularly, there was a little bit of a skip on it, but it was well taken down on the top of the circle. Just shows the importance of get the ball controlled, get it in the right place, give your offensive player the best opportunity you can to get an early shot away, because quite often it's the early shot as opposed to the actual pace of the ball of the shot that makes the difference.
I love it to see a clean strike like that. In fact, I've actually yesterday picked up a couple of keepers at this tournament have resorted now to actually go back to the good old log, getting themselves lying flat on the turf. Haven't seen that for a while, but you could see keepers measuring up who's got a big hit and a nice clean hits in this tournament. Not many drag flickers as you get into the age groups a little bit higher up. And so the safe option, just piling yourself lying on the ground, and they're not happening there.
Well, I was saying to Murray the other day that actually you're going to see more actual hitting in one tournament than you've probably seen on live stream across the world in the last 12 months. Even you look at the difference. I worked on the 35s and 40s World Cup back in Nottingham, so the first edition of these 3 World Cups across the world. And even going from that to this, you see a fundamental difference in the amount of pure hitting.
Couple of stick checks and stick blocks and a little sword fight ensuing there, but nothing untoward happening. That has been phenomenal seeing them out hitting. There are some players, generally the sweepers, in a couple of the countries' teams here that hit the ball so cleanly. A young lady from Argentina, Cod, has got one of the sweetest hits I've seen in a long time. Ball traveling miles down the field, and every time she hits it through a gap, and her forward's been from Argentina who love to run onto the ball. Must just love playing with her.
Well, that plays to their tactical, sort of almost cultural framework at the moment, which is that defend deep, post a player high, look for that long, direct route one ball, hold it up with the forwards, eliminate one-on-one, win the penalty corners. That's what they do at every single level. At the moment, over the last 5 or 6 years, that's a cultural hockey, tactical cultural hockey identity they've created.
Yep.
But the men, to be fair, they were doing it prior to Gonzalo Payat moving across to Germany. He was just chucking 70-yard overheads straight onto Mateus Villa's stick. That was ridiculous. You just can't defend that. You're right, we high press, and then the Oak just chucks it, and it comes down with an air hostess.
Yeah, a couple of teams playing against them got some stiff necks watching the ball flying over their heads the whole game. I don't know if you picked up any of the South African games of the Commonwealth, but South African men, that is, and they've also resorted to that slightly. They've got some big chuckers at the back that like to throw Geese Brown and Co. And they've been not shy of doing that either. Been under the cosh and just trying to get the ball out as a circle entry here on a missed trap.
That took half an edge as it came across the top of the circle. Deb Weil not getting as much of a touch on it as she wanted, and it led it to South Africa opportunity. But just to disagree slightly in terms of the South African, the dimensions of the men's look at the Commonwealth, because I worked on that and saw a number of their games. Yep. They do have that long overhead, I get it, 100%, but the quality and speed of some of their midfield play, I mean, I'll highlight the Kassim boys, obviously, but properly talented athletes. And it's one of those ones that you back off a little bit because you're worried about the overhead, and then you give an opponent some space. And route one running, get it, and probably talked about the Aussies, but properly get it and run at that last defender and put them under a whole lot of pressure. And it does suggest there is that talent base for the men. I haven't watched the women as much, but certainly for the men, from what I've seen, that with a program sitting under that, and I understand the financial restrictions that exist here, there is some real talent.
No, we've always said Dayan Kassim is special. He's one of those players you don't want to put in a box. He'll probably climb out the box anyway, but he on the fly can do some of the most amazing skills you've ever seen from a hockey player. And it isn't scripted, it isn't planned. He's just got the fast nerve fiber twitchings that happen at the right time to go left, right, up, down, sideways. And he found his feet near the end of that tournament. Yeah, he started a bit playing the conventional game, and somebody must have said to him, unleash yourself, and finish that tournament on fire. As we end the first quarter of this match, South Africa 1-0 up with a short corner goal, and will be joined again in the next quarter as soon as possible.
That waiting for the gun, the nerves are just too much, thinking about what is about to go down.
And there goes the horn to start the race.
No, I think it's really amazing. And now the whole setup and people are dressed up.
We're giving something, I think, to the people is just fantastic.
The support on the side of the road is second to none, and that gives you the extra oomph.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. The scenery is beyond what I could imagine. I seriously enjoyed it. I met so many wonderful people on the way.
Really enjoying Cape Town. People seem to really appreciate artwork here, which is really nice.
Come and visit Cape Town. We are waiting for you with open arms. We welcome you here. This will remain a city of hope and opportunity for everyone, not just in Cape Town, but around the country and the world.
And he takes the tape.
Cape Town is open, safe, and ready to host you.
Short corner from Brenda Piper. A bit of a midfield battle ensuing here as we see a stick collision, stick hack. We haven't seen many chances in this game, to be realistic.
No, I mean, South Africa had a further chance to their penalty corner down. There was a crossfield ball that just got a little bit of an interception. The US really have struggled to get anything up high. That front line of Croteau, the lead way out of shot now on the left-hand side of the pictures, but really struggled to get stick on ball. It's been a little bit hopeful as they played through that middle channel, and you feel that, we spoke about it earlier, you feel that they really do need to find some width. South Africa have done so more in that attacking third. For the US, rather than get it in that middle position where a player at the moment such as Kath Jackson is sitting in that pocket, they need to look at, can they get it out? You've got Angstad out on this left-hand side. Can they do a 1 or 2 pass transfer and utilise some of the higher spaces?
Yeah, you don't want to get the ball into the situation there where they are now, where it's ball and 2 sticks hacking away at it. You want to keep the ball away from the stick and just keep possession for a while, as we see the big hit going forward there with the turnover.
And you can always argue, because we talked about the physicality at the beginning of this game. They played 3 games. This is their 4th, and therefore are there any legs out there? But that's not an excuse, I don't feel, for not transferring the ball, because you can still transfer it to static players. You don't have to be particularly mobile, but I think they do need to look cross-field a little bit more, the US, to get something out of this.
As they knock the ball on the sideline. This could be a cross, I think. Worthington, yes, trying to get the ball across there.
Yep, in off the edge of the circle. Once again, that's Kath Jackson in the middle, a bit providing the options just to try and find that pass. That's not 5. There's going to be a card. You've got to be slightly smarter than that. Josie Worthington not backing away. Well, it's not Worthington who's picked up the card. We'll get confirmation of that in a moment, but you need to be slightly more sprightly in that jump away. Jane Sagan, I think it is, who's actually picked that up. A couple of minutes suspension. Now, that's a lovely little reverse flick.
Reverse overhead flick and the drive for the circle. Just trying to push it at the end. The umpire's given the blow for the US. Yeah, they have.
I'm loving the USA supporters down beside as I lower my voice, just because they can overhear us as they go, definitely a PC, definitely. You're like, well, it's just a little bit assertive. We get PCs for that at this stage. It'll be a game of 9 on 9 very quickly.
What I have loved about this tournament is because they're different age groups, that when a country does play and players from other age groups come down and watch and give support. So you've got a home-based support straight away. When the over 60s ladies are playing, then the over 60s men join in, or the over 55 ladies team pops in to come and support. And so there's always supporters from different teams from the same country coming to support.
That's a great ball to the top of the circle for the US. Can they float it through? They do float it through. Was that inside? Wow, that was really not very far away from the edge of the circle. That's one of those moments the commentator then go, can we get mentally, how much can we see on that as a replay? Because if that first ball is in, it's gone off a defender's stick to create the long corner. But if the first ball had been played, touched inside the circle, it's a goal. However, you work on the principle nobody appealed, so obviously not.
I think Coteau didn't say anything, and I think if she did think she was in, she would probably be doing a victory dance and then complaining when the goal was not given.
That's when they look up to us for the video umpire decision. Oh, what a pass! Goalie sat on it.
I'm not sure what the actual blow is for, but it did go straight in the D, and a touch did happen.
Well, the blow was for body. It was blown against, and it was that lead run. Again, Karen Croteau gets into a good position. The ball in. You keep trying to rewind it in your head. Was it actually hit from outside the 23, letting it play straight into the circle?
Sharon Bennett, the goalkeeper, doing really well. They're coming out and just smothering it, and the ball getting lodged under. But there was a blow before that for a body, I think, a ball on the body. Umpire just calling that blow a little too early. Worthington was around the outside there and probably would have had a baseline run lined up. Gets called back to the exact spot.
Oh, there's a tackle. Completely off the wrong angle. And this goes back to what we talked about mobility. All the players, even with tied legs, you've got to make sure that the first little bit of footwork from a tackling perspective just puts the body in the right place, because otherwise you only miss the ball in that situation. You've only got to miss it by 10 centimetres, and the clatter is so hard. You're giving away corners only just inside your 23.
The US camping outside the circle now for a while, trying to find a route in here.
That's Worthington again. who was trying to drive that. She's now being encouraged by the spectators to make sure there's a big 5. The USA suspension has now also elapsed.
The ball trapped in the side of the field. Needs somebody to either come up with a power hit or just to move it around the outside. I think the trough ball might be on here, but the US have got a high centre forward or a high wing just cutting the field, which is a good tactic. There it gets enacted there. A lot of pressure. Good running in there. Croteau just applying the pressure.
That's a superb bit of high running as well. I mean, Croteau had that chance just moments ago. Now all of a sudden the USA can get, if they can find that route 1 ball, because Croteau certainly seems to have some athleticism into the circle, and by cutting the defence in half as she's been doing, it forces South Africa back out to that left-hand side and puts them in a tiny pocket.
I think if you look at the high press being employed here by the US, they've got South Africa on the back foot. They just can't capitalise from the possession they are getting. See the indecision at the back, and yet comes the US just missing the interception there. South Africa now having a run, looking like they're going to try and find a way through there. Shaz, let's trying to find a through ball, but it's the first time I've seen in a while that a couple of the ladies on the US side are wearing dark glasses, shades. They might have their lenses underneath there, and they might be protective. Not the usual thing you see in a hockey match. Having said that, there's a big push around the world for protective eyewear, where it be, I know in the US they've been trialing out face masks that are just covered at the eye level. They don't cover the whole face, so they've got a metal grid on them. It just stops any follow-throughs and any ball action that might rise and you damaging the eye socket or something like that. Not sure how big that's going to take off.
I'll make that discussion fairly brief from my perspective. I fundamentally disagree with it. I really do. I think if you start getting into that situation, unless it becomes a mandatory thing, then if you get some countries who can, some countries who can't, then the impact of head injury to head injury, head-to-head impact or eye-to-eye impact, particularly if you've got wire glasses, I just disagree with that completely. If you're looking at perspex or something, that's fine, but you go all the way back. So again, go back to the history we talked about earlier on. In 2010, the medical committee of the FIH banned a couple of face masks when penalty corner face masks first came in because of the perceived danger of head-to-head contact as opposed to protection from ball on face. So for me, until you have some data, depending where you are in the world, about what that injury is that you're trying to prevent, you're almost creating something for nothing. I think until you look at issues such as backhand shooting, particularly at junior level, which to me is one of the most dangerous things in the game, whether you've got half a helmet, although there we go, that just proves a point, he says, just holding his conversation. I still disagree with it, however.
No, the protective gear is interesting. I remember back in the early days when short corner specialists started really coming to the fore and the drag flicking got some pace on it. And the first couple of face masks that we tried out were the softball keeper, catcher, they had a mask you slipped over. And they were fantastic, except you were right. They had some sharp edges on them that if there ever was a collision with somebody, you would have cut the person wide open. But you just saw a backhand tackle there that really was wrong side. If that's still a term in hockey, coming in from the wrong side. I know in the old days it was a big thing. If you came in from the wrong side, the person on the ball would try and hurt you.
Yeah, I've played in a few of those games and watched a few of those tackles as people hang a stick out.
South Africa having a bit of opportunity here, but a turn of a ball might just hurt them. A lot of field to play in. Scoreboard on their side there. The US can't find the way into the back of the net. As we see another clank of the ball there. A little bit overcast today. Cold front rolling through. It does it periodically in this part of the world, being right down on the southern tip of the African continent. But in between there were some glorious days.
Oh, it's been stunning. I've got to say, I didn't come from London to Cape Town just to sit in overcast conditions. Apparently it's pretty chilly at home, but it has, you're absolutely right. It has been beautiful, the days that we've had so far. It's a stunning location for the competition.
Yeah, and the team's also having some rest days. And we see an opportunity here Ball going into the Piper, trying to get a ball across. Umpire sent it Piper's foot, which I didn't see, but...
Now Piper with a rueful shrug of the shoulders, wasn't it really, as that came through?
Sense of resignation, I think. Yeah, the team's having rest days built into this tournament, which is nice for them, because on the rest day, the best thing to do is to give the brain a break as well. And they've been going up Table Mount on the cable car. They've been getting to Camp Spain, seeing a bit of the beach. The waterfront's also a good relaxing place. Just getting out and letting the brain think about something else except hockey for a while. And at rest day, especially in a place like Cape Town, where there are things to see and things to do. Lovely venue.
Well, the umpire, Jan Dekker, deciding that ball had just sat between the feet, or sorry, hadn't sat between the feet of the US defender, and therefore could be cleared legitimately. USA still looking for those Route 1 balls down that right-hand side, looking for the athleticism of Croteau as she leads out from that central pocket.
We're in the second quarter, and South Africa with a 1-0 lead, and since then they've backpedaled a little bit. You can't camp on a 1-goal lead in this sport anymore. The 2-goal trap being the worst part of the game, especially the substitutions that come along. It's amazing how when we had the roading sub, and I wish other sports would, especially football, would try it out. It would make it so exciting. Hockey changed gears when we went for the roading substitutions. Having 16 players, effectively 15 runners that can come on, come off, come on, come off. The speed of the game just went through the roof, and just added to the excitement.
Well, the other one I'd like to see in soccer particularly, I'd love to see self-pass. Because it feels like the play is broken down to such a massive extent by the ability for a free kick to be given, and then the opponent can just stand in front of the ball and literally stand there and do absolutely nothing, and breaks down all of the play. As opposed to if you could just literally put your foot on it, roll it sideways, and away you go. It would change every dynamic. US being well pinned back now, however, with that forward pressure from Mary Harty, trying to get something at the top of the circle.
It has been what I like about hockey is the rules committee saying that from year to year we'll try new rules out. Other sports like football prefer to go for the mentality of the game should be played exactly the same way as it was in. The ball in the D, and then a backhand shot, and that is a great put. Brenda Piper with her second. The cross coming in, taking a little deflection off one of the US players and landing in her lap, flicking a stick over to a reverse stick. The sliding shot into the keeper's foot, but too much power, and that's South Africa's second as Piper has doubled her tally.
Well, it's a good double, but it was all about that high pressure, and it started from the centre forward lead. If you have a player who is willing to step out hard and aggressively, it creates a momentum behind. It almost sucks up the midfield behind you, and suddenly a one-player press becomes a three-player press. And as long as you can get two people behind that and create your W, you fill up all the holes, and then the opponent just literally crumbles in front of your eyes.
And that's good pressure and a good turnover, and also making use of it. Often teams set up perfectly for the press, win the ball, and then either trip on it or rush forward too quickly. But a good finish there. And South Africa will be pleased now. They had a patch where they were going backwards a bit in that first session of this quarter, but back on top again.
And the US will be ruining that period of, 5 or 6 minutes that they had. They really got themselves up the turf. They were up and around the edge of the dotted line near the South African circle, but they just couldn't get the final touch. Croteau, the target player in that instance, even at this advanced age group, and full respect to the players who are out there, to see that kind of athleticism still, the shuttles, the 5-meter runs, the hold and the pop. And that's what's important. It's not just about can you run for long distances for a long time. Have you got the leg strength? Is there the lactic acid build-up or not that allows you to hold and wait, and then as the defender just gets a little bit complacent, they then settle, then you pop into the space.
The crowd now getting involved. Lots of noise coming up from both sides, yeah?
Well, as the day lengthens, if they played early on in the day and they're slowly just meandering out from the bar here, having enjoyed some Cape Town hospitality, gets a little bit more impassioned as the day goes on.
We've got the US team that's supporting. I can't see who they are, but they're getting louder. And to match them on the other side, we've got some family and friends of the South Africans getting loud and and cheery, should I say.
Nice little lateral pop. Can't get a touch on it. However, the Kathy Jackson trying the best that she can. It's them one back, or certainly frustrated with Sandra Chamberlain stepping in there. Stick on now for Chamberlain. Looks lateral, but just pops it straight back to South Africa. And
we are fascinated by the mindsets and the habits that make individuals and teams perform at another level. Let us be your thought partners and transformational coaches. Are you part of a team and you are wanting to gain insight into what ingredients need to be in the mix to take your team to a whole new level of performance? Partner with us. We want to be your transformational coaches.
At thehockeysite.com, it's about what happens in the locker room. Thinking about the game. It's about planning and preparation.
Who in the playoffs? But for both sides, it's finishing the pool as strong as they possibly can. The US, that strength coming from that forward press as they step into the channels, and the coach, even the umpire, even Jan Dekker, calling the free hit back and just making sure the ball is stopped.
Yeah, line up. The team that wins here would probably line up against Wales or Scotland in the other pool. I'm sure they've been watching each other when these games have been played, keeping a bit of spy out on, see where they're going to finish.
Well, but given the conversation that I've had with you and B with several other people, it's all about last man standing. The tactics for some teams are becoming compromised by how many people you can get. In one of the sides, I was chatting to the Scottish 55s earlier on, and they said they'd had a food bug, and last night,
Welcome back to the second half of this over 60s match in the Masters Hockey World Cup in Cape Town. South Africa leading this encounter 2-0 against the USA. An exciting game in the midfield. Both teams fighting hard at this point of the tournament. South Africa coming out with 2 goals by Brenda Piper, 1 short corner and 1 backhand sweep that just got them in the game. As these 2 teams are fighting for 3rd place in this pool to see who they'll end up in the playoff. Simon, your thoughts so far?
Well, the US have struggled a little bit to create many meaningful chances on the South African goal. It's been a quiet afternoon so far for Sharon Bennett, but every now and again there's just a little bit of a flash as that ball gets blasted into a defender's foot and South Africa can continue to carry it, but it's been pretty much one-way traffic offensively.
The US had a patch where we thought they were pressing really high and they had an opportunity to get some on the scoreboard, and maybe the game might have changed if they did put a goal in, but just couldn't get a shot on target cleanly. Another game has swung right back into South Africa's favour.
And it was good effort from Kathy Jackson, particularly in the midfield for the US, who was just trying to win that ball back and find that route 1 ball, but she only really had one target. Croteau up front was a live wire particularly. Funnily enough, gets it again now, but trying to move those balls on, it became a little bit one-dimensional. It was straight up and down the middle, and they needed to find some width. South Africa had themselves found the width that we talked about. First 10 minutes were pretty much up and down that middle strip of turf, but then they started just popping it out to the flanks, and that really did create chances for themselves.
Again, balls into the midfield where it becomes a 50-50, and we have a stick clang. Little drive again on the left-hand side there as we get Sally Walsh trying to move it on the channel.
The one thing I'm critical of, and because it doesn't matter, age isn't a barrier to how effectively you can move the ball around, and it's just that little bit of focus on stick on ball and move it on quickly.
Taylor getting in here. Looks like she's going to hit the shot. Not pulling the trigger. I think if Celia Taylor had just hit that ball, I think she would have a good chance of getting some value for money, even if a ricochet of the keeper back into play. But
100%. The phrase you use is pull the trigger. You're in there, you cross the white line, and you can appreciate that maybe there's a little bit of a fear that the power isn't quite enough right from the edge of the circle. That's a lovely floated ball into space. Unfortunately, that's the sort of ball to chase, to get the momentum. You've accelerated your sprint pace when you pick it up, and it becomes really dangerous. But that shot itself, going back to it, you're absolutely right. Once you're, 2 meters inside, get the ball outside the front foot, transfer the body weight, back foot to front foot, and get everything through it.
That was a chance wasted, and I think when they watch the replay, they're going to realize how much time they had on the ball. I think Celia might just think, I should have hit that thing. A lot of teams going back afterwards and watching the video feeds, and I think video analysis is coming after these players were playing hockey at their peak level, I should say. And so it's very good to see all generational players realizing the benefit of watching a bit of video. And I've got a colleague of mine, Craig Fulton, who works with the Belgium team now, and his favorite saying was always, the video never lies. If we ever had a debate, we got to look at the video, and the video never lies. And that's a fantastic angle to look at. There's technology to help you, and you can always pick something up just watching something again the second time instead of relying on the good old memory.
I also heard that the people watching it both here and back home are thoroughly enjoying our comments. That expert in-depth analysis as we promptly ask questions. I've spoken about it many times at lots of different levels. I happily dig holes for myself when there's rule interpretations. I had one just this morning in the bar I picked up with an umpire yesterday, and I went, if you're in the circle and you've dived and made a clean tackle, but you then take out if you're a defender, you then take out the attacker, can you give the 10-minute yellow for the ground tackle but not give a penalty stroke because the ball's already gone? So what's the decision in that? And he was like, it's pretty difficult to sell a 10-minute yellow without a penalty stroke, but I see your point. that kind of hole.
And again, Celia in the... Oh, now I'm trying to pull the trigger, but just missed the ball. Celia Taylor just driving through again. Finding the circle entry. Just needs to crack one on the middle of the screws and see where it goes. Yeah, you're right. We can have debates for hours and hours about some of the hockey rules and interpretations of them. I'm always fascinated by when it's a personal foul and when it's a team foul, and when it's both.
Wow, and that has been blown for an off-the-ball incident. The umpire, Jan Dekker, down beneath us. As the ball was being carried in, it was shoulder to shoulder. I think it was the centre forward, Mary Harty, who was involved in it in the first instance. Shoulder to shoulder, and that's what was blown. But it was an off-the-ball incident, which I'm not convinced. This comes back to absolutely what we were just talking about. Let's dig a hole for ourselves, shall we? Can you stop the play for an incident such, or should you stop the play for an incident such as that? You've seen something off the ball, has no material impact on the ball being carried into the circle. Do you therefore have to allow that play to continue until there's a natural break, at which time you show the card? I've got no problem with that. But do you need to do it at that moment and change what's going on the field with the ball? You don't have to answer that. That's me musing to myself.
I would go for advantage first and bring the play back later. You probably find in the meantime, while the play goes on, the coach is trying to get that play off the field as fast as possible and hide them in the closet.
Correct. Towel over the head. Definitely not here. I'm definitely not here.
The intricacies of the sport, we love it so much when these small things come up.
So it's balls like that. That's just a gentle roll out to Sally Walsh on the left-hand midfield position. But the ball, once the ball gets to her, it's taken, what, second and a half. And that changes the amount of time that she then has to do the next thing. So going back to what I was speaking about a little while ago before South Africa had that successful attack, get a ball down, drive the right hand through every push pass because that generates ball speed, and give your teammate time.
Yeah, ball pace is so underrated in hockey, especially when you see the kids coming through the ranks, appreciating ball pace as they get older and older. And you think at this level, you'd make sure that having played so much hockey that you look now, the trough ball, that needs ball pace. It has got some on it and just gives the next person some time.
Well, that's the two-pass transfer.
Yeah, very neat. And 2 becomes 3, becomes 5, becomes 7 quickly.
And that's a lovely little reverse stick shovel forwards. Catch your opponent unawares who's thinking you're going to trap it yourself, and you just literally see the ball come in, move it left foot to right foot across the body and accelerate it into the space. Really clever set of passing to come. They come all the way from a left defensive pocket all the way up to a high right forward position.
You don't have to sell the passing game. With me, my favorite sayings of hockey is 3 most important rules in hockey are pass, pass, pass.
My personal 3 ones were save it, save it, save it. Or as I coach now when I coach goalkeepers, the most important rule of the whole thing. Stop little white thing going in big netty thing.
Just get in the way.
Correct. We can make it as complicated as we like, but it's pretty straightforward.
Lots of coaching coming from the US side, yeah? Some sideline coaches giving all advice. Good charge down there. That was fantastic. Brendan Piper, the goal scorer. Piper just putting the pressure on, and now, I would say, crossing the ball in the D, but I was preemptive there.
Yeah, and that's we've talked about perfected face masks a little while ago, and that's when a player steps in and you just, as an opponent is swinging, you've stepped in and you've jabbed it, and it used to be term when we used to play, it's a jab and a jump. Step in there and you literally jab it and then jump out of the way of the swinging stick. Oh, what a chance.
What a good ball going through. Unfortunately, Croteau just having one of those football moments where you turn away from the ball and take your eye off the ball. It becomes the impossible one to trap. Ashley turned around, the ball came from behind, and she had to then try and relock onto it by herself, though. We're in a one-on-one with the goalkeeper. It would be a fantastic opportunity.
Well, I'm pretty certain that a restart is about 15 metres, not 22. So absolutely, Jan Dekker calling them back to a straight line across the top of that shooting circle. And the US now doing exactly to South Africa what South Africa had done to them. Create the ring press, force them into a difficult pass out, put pressure onto the ball carrier, force them into an error. It's a USA foot, but they still just consistently don't allow the easy release.
We keep touching all these intricacies of the game. Hockey having a 16-yard hit out the back from an imaginary line that isn't actually there. You get your edge of the D and 2 small dotted lines on the sideline being your measuring stick, and you have to find this place somewhere on the field. Good lines for everything else.
It's quite interesting that you watch it now sometimes when you see some of the senior international teams, I mean senior in terms of if they're playing Pro League, World Cup, Olympic Games type stuff, that you'll see them now putting pressure on based on a 5-metre measure, literally, and they will use the D line and the dotted line, and they'll stand on the dotted line, and when the umpire then says that you now need to back away further, they go, well, why? The rule is it's a 15-metre restart, this is the 5-metre line, job done.
Yeah, good thinking there. South Africa just finding some nice small passes to each other. Need to make their way down the field, and they do an opportunity now.
And they've stretched play as well, because right out of shot on the left-hand side, you've got Shaz Litster on the penalty spot.
And there come ball coming to her, just not connecting.
The goalkeeper's got caught out of the circle. What's South Africa got? It's not dangerous. They're allowed to carry on.
That was the proverbial hot potato. Nobody wanted to actually hold on to that and do something with it. It kept bouncing all over the place to somebody else.
I'm pretty certain it was one of those moments that as a goalkeeper, so Pam Sherry had come out of her goal, and it was more of a shuffle step, wasn't it, as she was thinking about, can I get close enough? It wasn't done with a huge amount of pace and aggression, and because she hadn't committed to it, couldn't get a toe poke through it to clear the ball, but then was too far out the goal to actually be able to retreat, so caused her own problems.
Another ball getting smashed in on route 1, but nothing coming from that. There are a couple of moments that I, not being a keeper myself, that I imagine cause a bit of panic for a goalkeeper. That one where you come out and then suddenly the player slips it somewhere else and you realize you're not covering your goal and you've got to get back quickly, the panic there. The other one is when the ball pops in the air and the goalkeeper loses sight of it and doesn't know where it is and where it's going to land and does a couple of spins.
I often find in that situation, and I agree with you on both, in that situation, we'll just pause and see what comes out of this.
And there we have a shot. Brenda Piper now pulling the trigger, maybe sending a message to Celia Taylor what you need to do when you get to that part of the circle.
Well, in festival terms, that is jug avoidance. you got a hat trick for a jug for a hat trick. She's on 2 already. But yes, as a goalkeeper, I often found that, agreeing with you, when the ball pops up in the air and you're a little bit uncertain, the best thing to do is look at the players. Because if you look at the ball, you're trying to find something when you don't know where it is. What they've got is they've probably got sight of it and they've got eyes on it. So I'm watching your eyes as you're trying to swing at it, and I'm then just stepping in the way of where you're looking. Found that was quite successful rather than guessing.
That's why they paid you the big money to be in the goals.
Absolutely. Millions and millions of Zimbabwe dollars.
Well, 1-2 pass going in there.
Just continue. Keep running.
To describe that passage of play as I call it a circle run. This ball trickling through. Nobody wanting to hit it, including the US defenders.
You got more oohs and ahs from the crowd than a fireworks display. As they're wondering, is it, isn't it, is it, isn't it? Nobody quite certain that they want it or not.
The expectancy from everybody there. South Africa corner, a lot of headaches now in the USD. Still over 4 minutes left in this quarter. These games have been played across 5 different fields, 3 different venues, but they've organized well that you get age groups playing together, so you can play your match and then stay and watch another match in your pool to get a sense of who you're going to play against and who's coming up next, etc. So you have these kind of roving mini tournaments happening. The under-60s now at Western Province Cricket Club for the afternoon. Tomorrow they'll be off to a different venue, but sticking together though, so they can watch each other and learn.
Well, you also get that fabulous camaraderie with teams wanting to support each other, but also some of these players may well have been playing Masters hockey across the last 10 or 15 years, across 2 or 3 different age groups, and it's as much as about those moments of sharing as the USA do find a beautiful overlapping pass. It's absolutely no surprise it's Creteau making the long lead on the right-hand side.
Just finding the pass to it.
Creteau more of a wander now, just to get the ball that's off the back of the turf, and she'll roll it all the way back, and that restart will be Diane Angstadt. Gets a stick on ball. That's the little testing one. It's the little bobbler. I'll just pop it up and in there and see who can deal with that.
All it lacked was some side spin just to kind of really throw the cats amongst the pigeons. But we've seen a couple of those. Those are the best ones that come in, and a whole bunch of people get. You can see the nerves jangling from the player trying to trap it, knowing there's too much at stake here. Ball with no pace.
It's almost like the last defender on a penalty corner when it takes all the pace off it and it's either bobbled up and over the goalkeeper. They're literally sticks up and down.
I was fortunate to comment a game yesterday, one of the Dutch ladies' games, and there was a shot taken. That's another interesting interpretation. The umpire has to judge with those yardsticks the point where they think it's gone 5 yards in total.
Well, it's sometimes when players, we talk about video umpiring in different levels of competition, and sometimes a player will go, that's not gone 5, and you're looking at it as a commentator going, well, I'm pretty certain it's definitely more than 4. And until we get laser guidance, I'm like, why have you even bothered asking the question? Because there is no physical way, other than a very, very few finite number of markings on a turf, that you can actually make that judgment call. So I often just think that's a proper Hail Mary pass of a call in terms of hit and hope, and it's a 50-50 if it's going to come out in your favour. Bit of a waste.
Should we change that rule and say you need to do 5 yardsticks and then you can just enter?
5 burpees, is that what you said? Yeah, literally, whatever it is. But yeah, you've got that whole, can I move it backwards and forwards, which you're allowed to do. It means the ball's moved 5.
Yeah. 5 yards or 5 yardsticks. It's got to be a 5 somewhere.
That's a lovely first touch to change the line, pick the ball up and take it away. That isn't quite as firm as we have actually talked about in terms of ball speed.
Yeah, just the game getting a bit lazy now. I'll say lazy. It's an easy way to say that the players are tired.
It therefore becomes just that little bit more chaotic, doesn't it? You're in a situation where, because legs are tired, the outcome of a touch becomes a little bit more random, a little bit more unpredictable, and actually it's now getting stretched. So we've had a USA attack. You don't need to blow your whistle. Sorry, being critical. You just simply didn't. Imran Parr, it's a natural reaction. You're looking at it. The player is through absolutely in acres of space.
De Bruyne is wide open in the middle of the field here, but just not being picked up there.
That's going to be a green for not being 5.
Yeah.
But you're in a situation, where was the original free hit? And it's always one of those things that if the ball isn't stopped and is allowed to just completely roll forwards, it fundamentally changes where the fence was in the first instance. Comes to nothing, however.
That brings us to the end of this quarter. The third quarter, South Africa still 2-0 up. We're going to have one more quarter to come. You'll hear from us soon.
At thehockeysite.com, it's about what happens in the locker room. Thinking about the game. It's about planning and preparation. And about training and improving those skills. Looking at it from different angles. But of course, it's also about teaching them to score and win. Thehockeysite.com. Share the knowledge.
Welcome back. We're at the last quarter of this match, the over 60 game between South Africa and the USA. Some complaints, the restart was blown and South Africa took it, but the USA are saying they weren't ready, I believe. Or maybe it was their ball originally. Maybe South Africa were being a bit presumptuous there.
Oh, confusion about if you take the second half restart, then I think you also get the third quarter restart as well. So it's just a little bit of confusion.
There's always someone in the field who remembers exactly whose ball it is.
Oh, isn't there always? Always someone absolutely prepared to point it out.
Brenda Piper going on the outside again. Lots of running here. Could she cross it? Great ball in.
Is that that's a great tackle. If it wasn't a foot, it looked like an absolutely big boot in front of the goalkeeper. But we were just speaking off air about pure athleticism at this level and the difference it makes. And Piper was the player that we spoke about. And they're proving exactly that. Get it and run hard. 4 or 5 meters, eliminate an opponent, and then a beautiful, clean hit connection.
Shaz Litster just on the keeper there for South Africa, not getting in front of her player and tapping that in. USA now pressing quite nicely with space. If they can just get the entry. Good way to force the short corner if there was one, I think.
The ball didn't go 5. I agree with that. But there was about 57 players who also weren't anywhere near 5 yards from the top of it. And it can't be that either. It's either a free-out defence or it's a penalty corner. Pick one or the other.
I think it's balanced in the books there.
We'll just go with just restart. It'll be fine. We'll work it out later.
I had to come to the game yesterday where the ball was running towards the goal very slowly and an Argentinian player ran across to clear it. That's the logically the ball probably would have ended up in the goal. It was going very slowly and the Argentinian player in the haste, the defender, kicked the ball. And so the umpires put their hand up for a P-flick, which I think was right, but then the debate ensued that did the ball have enough pace? And they do get the short corner here, ball right on the foot. After discussion by the umpires, the net result was a bully on the 16, and nobody could figure out how that happened. But as you said, some interesting stuff happening.
Well, the interesting thing with that is that I've been involved in a discussion about penalty stroke type things, and the word in the rules is, did it stop a probable goal? And consequently, the probable word is probably. So therefore, you can go, well, it's going at goal, it is still rotating, so we don't have to make that categorical black and white decision. So there's the word that potentially makes a big difference. Here, however, irrelevant. Let's keep discussing theoretical scenarios. This one, the drag flick that we're looking for, will be the theoretical scenario because there won't be one.
Although the hands are apart. No. Ball comes out. Just needs to get it in. Oh, Bobby does it the first. And the second. Advantage. Oh, my word. That was interesting because I think Finnegan, Michelle, the captain, was around 2 players, was charging the batteries to hit that as hard as she could from the P spot.
What's the umpire questioning? Is the umpire suggesting, and this is, I think, Jan Dekker is saying, her socks have to cover the protective knee pads that she's wearing. I think that is the discussion, is that she has to pull her socks up to cover the knee pads.
And the ball comes out short. It's going to be a cross on target, but definitely hit the shin pad there, not the unprotected, uncovered knee guard.
A penalty corner's been given.
A little confusing, yeah. I think there definitely was a penalty corner given there.
Yeah, both arms were raised. Just hit the defender.
South African defence just... Some of the fans really getting into this game. It does look like extra shin pads going in there. But
it is. It's 2 carbon fibre plates that you slide down the back of your shins. That's broken the line by about 10 miles. I mean,
and the ball getting ejected and across the open face.
I'm now going to raise a question. If you break the line of the circle that early, you should probably be able to get to the far post. She was about 5 meters inside the
I thought you were going to
circle.
ask me what happens from there. The rule is crazy because if you break early, your injector gets sent back to the halfway line. And you just get to appoint another injector that has to be in the short corner that time. But that, you're right.
That's a great bit of pressure from Croteau, who's really won that back. She's been a proper live wire for the US.
Just trying to get the ball. A couple of wavy sticks, and umpire unperturbed by that, saying nobody died, so you can carry on playing. Ball into the D, and the free swing, and now the blow happening. Well, he's keeping us guessing. We're maybe too far away, Simon. We can't really see what's going on down
It's
there.
a whole different set of angles from the commentary box compared to what's actually going on down the pitch, so I would definitely not like to call it from there. A lot of legs in the way.
One of our ladies' team, after playing yesterday and listening to me commentate, said, Pierre, you coach too much from up top there. You need to commentate more. Here come the R-sticks. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that looked like it. You're right, the laser guidance or some kind of VAR system.
And you also sometimes you can tell from player reaction in certain situations. If there's a one-on-one player reaction, you can't judge anything from that. But if there's an immediate and instinctive several players stand up or hands go up involuntarily, so it's not a direct appeal to the umpire, but it's just a recognition of something, you then have to sort of backtrack in your mind and go, you know what, that has legitimacy in terms of an understanding of what's in front of you. But if it's just one player who every now and again has a bit of a chomp, that's a
corner given for players not retreating fire from an out ball. I think we need to go back to umpiring school.
Well,
So me and you are struggling here.
Oh, the USA certainly. I mean, they're stepping up high. They're creating the pressure. And if you create the pressure, you then ask questions. And you ask questions of the opponent, you ask questions of the official. You create emotional, physical, and mental pressure all around the turf. And that's what they're doing. And that's all they can do. You just keep putting the ball into the right positions.
Goal now would really help them put some scoreboard pressure on South Africa. Ball being pushed out. Again for the tactic. Being allowed to play this time. Fantastic save. Second
That
shot.
is brilliant. Genuinely brilliant goalkeeping. I think somehow in goal, Sharon Bennett saved the first one. There wasn't a lot of ball pace. It's then popped and bobbled and popped and bobbled. And then the second face save, she somehow waved a stick at it like some sort of magic wand and got enough of a touch.
There's nothing like seeing a goalkeeper commentator, seeing a goalkeeper make a good save. I haven't seen excitement like that from Simon for a while.
Fully paid up union card member of the Goalkeepers Union. 100% recognition of what Bennett did.
That was for that. Even the crowd appreciated on the USA side, yeah, but this game heating up now, getting quite nice and tense. We missed the actual shot on the far post there, because that did come through for a secondary shot. It just couldn't get it through. And as hockey sometimes does, South Africa now right on the other side of the field could add some insult to injury by getting a short corner on the other side, literally within a minute of the previous attempt.
Well, and stranger things have happened. That 2-goal gap is never quite enough to be comfortable. Yesterday, the England ladies dominated the Netherlands ladies with 2-0 up with 10 to go. And with 10 to go, the Netherlands then got one back, and all of a sudden you just saw the cracks appear. You just saw England sitting back and go, well, we can ride out the time, it's not a problem. With a minute to go, penalty stroke, 2-2, real deflation in their shoulders because they knew it was an easy one. So this 2-goal scoreline means nothing with this long on the clock. Momentum can shift.
South Africa just struggling to get the ball in here. Yeah, I bumped into the Dutch ladies kind of up the staircase after that match, and I said, did you win? And they said yes. And I said, what is the score? And they said 2-2. And I was heavily confused, and they explained the game to me, and I realized they felt like they'd won that. Coming back from 2-0 to a last minute, that draw was a win in their favour for.
When it just shows how a player can influence the impact of a match with their positivity. It was Sasha Bal for the Netherlands, who suddenly, with about 10 minutes ago, just decided, you know what, I'm going to put everything out there. And she chased, and she ran, and she was aggressive, and she dominated space. And all of a sudden, her shoulders were up and her midfield three then stepped up behind her. And it fundamentally changed how effective their press was. She'd been working all on her own, and then the team dynamic changed, and they thoroughly deserved the outcome in the end.
A little bit of confusion here. South Africa drive for the circle. Thinking the call was the ball didn't move 5 yards before it went in. But the umpires flexing their lungs at the moment with the whistle.
Just making sure it's completely in the right place, so getting it out nice and wide. It can be walked up level to the top of the circle for the restart. Everybody else then has to take another big pace backwards. There's some proper shielding going on in the middle of that press. Jackson trying to just create a space with her body, backing away to give that reverse stick channel to hit down. Didn't go down there, and South Africa once again can step through. Good movement in the middle from Heather de Bruin.
Spraying going the long way around here for the cross. Ball coming in. Oh, fantastic finish. Ball popping loose on the back of the circle there, and you'd love to be gifted one of those.
Well, it's a good right-hand side attack. I think it's Mary Harty who's finished it.
Yeah.
Certainly a good finish that came in, and all of that possession that the USA had, we spoke about just moments ago, for all the possession, all the territory, suddenly it just gets turned on its head. One ball falls kindly, and Harty manages to get it, slaps it in to the bottom corner, out of reach. The outstretched right leg of Pam Sherry.
That was old school as well. The hands apart, a bit of a bunt. Got some really good gas on it, and bottom corner. South Africa now extending their lead to 3-love, and I think they'll now feel happy they got a bit of cushion. A goal by the US won't have as much consequence as it did when it was 2-love, with 5 minutes and 24 seconds on the clock.
Well, if you look at the number of shots that South Africa have had to face during the course of this game so far, it's unlikely, statistically unlikely, that they're going to find 4 in the last 5 minutes to, first of all, 3 in the last 5 minutes to first of all tie this up and then take any sort of a lead. So right now it feels that South Africa will be victorious. They'll then go into that slightly higher ranking position in the pool. They'll then get potentially the slightly easier semi-final. Sorry, playoff.
Playoff, yeah. Ball in. Just batted away over the baseline. And that rule has, I say, softened up over the years. The ball being played over the baseline. It's still you can't play it directly over the baseline, but I know as the years have gone by that in the previous years, in my youth, when you even remotely hit it anywhere near the baseline, the umpires would jump on you and give a short corner. Now, keepers can kick it over the baseline comfortably and nobody cares anymore.
Oh, we've always been able to do that. Absolutely. No, and that one, funnily enough, I was then going to absolutely rescind my union card and say that whilst from a field player perspective, deflections allowed, playing it over not allowed, and there are some interesting interpretations but for field players, but the one thing I do find for goalkeepers is properly a big kicker that boots it off the baseline. It's not a deflection, it's a proper full-blooded kick. So rarely gets penalised.
Preferential treatment there, I'm afraid.
But we do deserve that.
No, there's a couple of those. The good old angle glove that just help it on its way.
Well, and the US once again stepping up. A full 6 players in that high ring press, albeit South Africa trying to counter that by sticking out of view of the pictures we've got, out of view on the left-hand side, right up towards the 23-metre line. USA are encouraging the carry, and they've absolutely won the turnover, create the uncertainty.
Good step there by Linda Buitendach, just getting in front of her player. Switch ball on you. Oh, just not trapped. As we go into the last 3 minutes here, I'm sure the US is a goal just to get some confidence going into their next matches. You always want to end on a high, even if it is scoring a goal, not to win the game, but they just haven't found a way to get in the back of the net. They've had some glorious chances. But South Africa making the scoreboard tick, which counts.
It was that pair of Piper goals, wasn't it? They gave them that real early platform to build from. Once you've got that, you get rid of the nerves. You understand that you've set yourself a precedent of how effective you can be working forwards, and you just start to feel that you can dominate different areas. You don't have to play such low-risk passes, but you know your opponent has to come out at some stage, and it may not be immediate, but at some stage they have to throw a little bit of caution to the wind, and that will give you further opportunity.
It is fantastic to see so many Masters teams coming out to this event from different countries. There are some countries missing. I'm sure in the case of New Zealand, Australia, there's still the COVID hangover hanging around, which next time around they'll bring them out of their cocoon a bit. But just from nations all over the world, and like you said before, you see after these matches, the teams get together, have a group photograph, and then they go off to warm down with a couple of drinks on the cricket field next door, and they're all together and chatting and catching up and making friends or reacquainting themselves. It's fantastic to see.
And I think as the effects of the pandemic and the pandemic hangover, as you said, it just starts to elapse a little bit. You'll suddenly see more nations taking part. We don't see any Belgian sides here. We didn't see them in Nottingham for 35s and 40s. There's a limit to the number of older sides going out of Tokyo because there are still some bubble restrictions in place. But the Masters community, it astounds me with the number of people who consistently, A, are still playing, and B, want to get involved in these events. I mean, we've got, I believe it's somewhere in the region of 80 teams here across Cape Town, across the Spirit of Masters. We had 48 teams in Nottingham. There's another 26 teams in Tokyo. It's about, I mean, even my rudimentary maths, you're what, about 120 global teams? And that's without several nations taking part. We could easily see in the next World Cup cycle 150 Masters teams across the world representing the slightly more advanced age groups in our sport. It's genuinely brilliant. And they all enjoy a beer afterwards, which I think the social element of it is fab. Genuinely fantastic.
That is the relaxation to understand playing hard on the field and then relaxing afterwards. As we wind the clock down here, last 5 seconds of this game, we're going to see South Africa come out on top 3-0. Simon, it's always, I was going to say it's been a pleasure, but umpire beating us to the whistle and giving a short corner, which now needs to be played out.
Well, I'd argue, does it? In a situation like this, that goal difference doesn't make any difference to the actual final standings. It's one of those things like in training. This is your last-minute training drill. This is, we'll just do one more, and when someone gets clobbered. If I was South Africa, this is stop it, roll it off to the corner flag. Genuinely, there is nothing to be gained by trying to put a shot on goal.
We actually saw in a match yesterday, the Netherlands from a short corner actually put somebody in the top right-hand corner of the field. The ball came out, and they passed it to the corner to waste 30 seconds of the game to make sure the clock ran down instead of going for goal. Ball in, trapped, and there is that ball that could catch a finger. I think it might have been dangerous a while ago, but
well, it's been blown as a body. The entire South African attack are looking at that with a degree of confusion, and I will say not for the first time over the course of the last 70 minutes, but at least they finished it on a high.
Simon, thank you so much. Fantastic to be with you again. South Africa winning that one. As we'll see you again for another match very soon.